So today we're going to talk about views. So we're going to talk on how to use them, how to create dynamic views, how to create layouts, and that's it. I roll back into the original state of the project, and especially in the home controller. The home controller that comes with Codeigniter has this default structure. You have the home controller. The home controller is in your controllers folder, and then you have the index function that displays this view. The view welcome message is right in your root folder of your views. It's this one. If you go into your views folder, you have already an errors that displays the HTML and the CLI errors. These ones are these views are used every time Codeigniter throws an error. So you have one for your error, for your exception, for your 404, for your debug, and stuff like that. Let's just start with the normal view. View is an HTML file. In this case, it's an HTML file put inside of PHP. But normally in your application, you want to send data into the views and transform these views into a way of displaying dynamic data. So the way you do this is in your second parameter here, you send a variable. Let's say you want to send data, and then let's say that your data is equal to Marco. So I'm going to send just the name. So how do you think this works? This actually will not work, because to send data into the view, you have to send it as an array. So this will be something like, you have to say this, and then assign it a name. So let's say that I have owner, and this is Marco. So because the view methods, what they will do is they will parse this array and then transform it into single variables. So if you open the welcome message, and then we go, let's say, into the H1, and then you display owner, and this will display the name. So let's say you want to send another variable called this one, let's call it the title, and this is my title, missing a single quote here, and then let's say we want a subtitle, and this is my subtitle, and we are still sending data, and then this will be called title, and this one will be called subtitle. If I refresh, this is my title, this is my subtitle. So you can see the potential here. Like, let's say you're getting data from your database and you want to show that data into the view. So this is a really good way of doing so. So let's say you have an array of articles. So if you had something like this, articles, if I can type, and this will be an array. So let's say I have my first article, and this one will have a title, title 1, and this one will have text, my text. You close it, and then let's put it like this, and let's say I have all of this. So let's imagine I'm getting data from my models and I'm sending this. If I refresh, everything works just fine. But now let's say this is the article section here. So let's say I want to display the article. Should this work? And then the text. Do you think this works? No. Why is that? Because I actually have my variable is called articles. So let's change this to articles. Will this work? No, because now article is an array and I can echo it. So what you need to do in this case is do an iteration of articles. And you put this in there. And then you access your article here. And like this, you do title and text. And now it works. And now I have my 5 articles here. So as you can see, the views and sending data into the views is quite easy. The other thing that you can do is have multiple views. So let's say I want to display another view just before this view here. So I can echo this instead of returning it, and I can do echo view my other view. And this will give me an error because this view doesn't exist. So let's create it. Let's go into our views folder and create it's just my view, and let's put it here just an h1 with my first view. And if you refresh it, you have your first view and then the Codeigniter view. So let's stop working with the Codeigniter view so we can have an easier time and we have less code. So the other thing that I want to talk to you about is layouts. Layouts is something that is really good for you to structure your views folder. So let's delete this one as well, and let's delete this one. So if I refresh this, I don't see anything because I'm not doing anything on this index method. But now I'm gonna load something like return view, and let's call it yield. I refresh, and now I get an error because I don't have the view called yield. So let's create views yield.php, and now I'll do this and I'll just display some text. Okay, but now let's say I want to create a base layout. Like this will be my content, but I have a base layout. I have something that is common in a lot of pages, like a menu or whatever. So let's say I can create another folder inside my views folder. Let's create the file and create it and let's call it inside the, let's go into the views folder let's call it application.php, and I'll save it in the layouts folder. The layouts folder is not where is the layouts folder? I said the layouts folder is not something that you need to make the layout system work. It's just something that I find that is useful to just have your layouts in the same folder. So now let's say I have some HTML here, and I have an ad and a title, and now I have a body, and in my body this is where I want my yield to load. And there's two ways you can do this. You could do like this, view yield, and then in your Rome, instead of loading or returning the yield, you would return the layouts yield. And then I got an error because it's layouts application, not yield. And as you can see, I have my app there, but let's make it more easy and say that I have an h1 here, call it my header, and then I have a footer and an h1 as well, and my footer. And as you can see, I have the header, I have my content inside the application, and I have my footer. But this is still not perfect, because now I'm always loading the application, and normally what you want is to load the view that is in the context of your function and not load the layout. One of the ways you could do this is just do this, like data yield, and just say that this is yield, or let's call it content, and then send this data. And then in your application, what you would do is actually put the variable here as content, and this will have the same exact result. But this is still not really that good, and it's actually ugly, and you don't have any dependencies here. So what Codeigniter allows you to do is you have this thing here called view layouts. And what you can do is, instead of having in your application here, you can have this. So you put this here, and this will be your content. Okay? And then you go into your yield here, and you extend here into layouts application. Okay, and then you say, okay, so what content do you want to be displayed? This one. Oops. Section, actually, and section content. And this will have, actually it doesn't have, let's see what we're missing. Okay, so what you're missing is, now instead of loading the application layout, what you're gonna do is remove this, remove the variable, because in this case we're not sending anything, and we are going to actually load the view for this index function. So this will be my yield. That's it. So we have the same exact result, but my index function is a lot cleaner. My application layout is a lot cleaner, and it's easier to read because I know that this is a render section and this will render some content that is outside this view. And now we have this view that we know just by looking at it that we have an extension of layouts application, and everything works perfectly. So there's a lot more into the view. So I can still send data into it, and let's say now I have my data and this is my content, and this will be Lauren from index, just so you can see the difference. And now instead of having this, I can have this and then content. And now I have my content coming from the home controller. So there's a lot more to unpack about views. You have the view parser, you have the HTML table class, that you have the view cells. This is quite important, and we'll go through it when the time comes, because this requires you to actually create a library, and then you can do actually queries and stuff like that. So, and use the query builder. So in time we'll come into the view cells, but for now I just want you to know that you can load the views as a single file, or you can create layouts and then load a view that extend to that layout, and then we'll display the content. So for today, that's all I have, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. On the next one we'll talk about models, and if you enjoyed the episode, please consider subscribing and give it a like. That will help the channel. And actually, I want to give a shout out to two people that helped me kickstart the channel. One that was a designer that created the logo for the channel that I love very much, and the other one was a motion graphics designer that created the intro for the channel. I'll put the link for their profiles and their YouTube channels on the description down below, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you next time. Thank you.